I'll never forget that night. 3 a.m., pitch black, and my phone buzzing like an angry hornet. I'm Claire Bennett, state fire marshal by day, exhausted human by night, and I was half asleep when I saw the text from my dad. HOA supplied the fire. Bring marshmallows. Classic dad, dry as a desert. Even when his lake cabin, our family's little slice of heaven, was apparently going up in flames. I laughed for about 2 seconds before the panic hit. Flames? Our cabin? That rickety old shack was my childhood, fishing with Dad, belly laughs by the lake, the smell of pine and freedom. Now, it was burning? I bolted out of bed, threw on my jacket, and jumped into my official SUV. Sirens blaring, I tore down the dark roads, my stomach doing flips. Part of me wanted to call Dad and yell, "Marshmallows? Really?" But the other part was picturing those flames swallowing every memory we'd built. By the time I hit the gravel drive to Lakeview Heights, my headlights caught an eerie orange glow staining the sky. My heart sank. This wasn't a drill. I pulled up, and there it was, our cabin, reduced to a blackened skeleton. Timbers groaned their last breaths, smoke curling up like a ghost. Emergency lights flashing all around. I stepped out, boots crunching on ash, and spotted the neighbors huddled by the roadside. Some looked shaken, hands over mouths. Others, oddly calm, like they'd seen this coming. Then I saw her, Vera Langley, the HOA president from hell, standing there in a fluffy robe, phone out, snapping pics of the wreckage like it was a tourist attraction. Her smug grin practically glowed brighter than the fire had. "Vera," I barked, striding over. She flinched, that triumphant little smirk faltering, then slapped on a fake frown so fast I almost applauded. "Oh, Claire," she cooed, hand to heart like some soap opera diva, "I'm so sorry. These old shacks, accidents waiting to happen." Accidents? My pulse spiked. I've been a fire marshal long enough to smell bullshit a mile away, and this reeked. "Funny you jumped to that." I shot back, keeping my voice steady but sharp. I scanned the scene. Hydrants tagged, out of service, security cameras conveniently dead. Sabotage screamed at me louder than my sirens had. Vera coughed, rattled by my stare. "Old wiring, bad outlets. You know how it goes, dear," she said, her condescension thick enough to choke on. I arched a brow. She'd hated our cabin forever, calling it a blight on her precious HOA kingdom. "We'll see," I said, letting a vow slip into my tone. Her pity mask slipped, unease flickering in her eyes. I smirked just a little. "You don't realize who you're talking to, do you?" She laughed it off. "Of course you're Tom's girl. We love Tom. Poor guy must be crushed. I'm also the state fire marshal." I cut in, watching her smugness collapse like a house of cards. "This is now a crime scene." Her jaw flapped, soundless, and her phone hit the pavement with a satisfying snap. Neighbors gasped, some scurrying off like embarrassed rats. Vera squeaked, "Crime scene? That's ridiculous. Why would anyone?" I let the silence choke her, her guilt practically sweating out of her pores. Then I crouched by the ashes and spotted it, red plastic shards. "A gas can." "Explain this," I said, holding her gaze. She floundered, excuses dying in her throat, and an old man with a cane shouted, "You torched Tom's place, you witch." The crowd turned. Vera was toast. I stood there, ashes still warm under my boots, pride swelling as the neighbors rallied around Dad's memory. He was a guy who'd fix your boat or share his catch. Everyone loved Tom. Now, there were glaring daggers at Vera, and I was just getting started. "Don't worry, Vera," I said, rising with a glare. "I'll sort every mistake." Dawn crept over the ruins, and I got to work, camera clicking, notebook scratching, cataloging every inch. My badge said, Marshal, but this was personal. A daughter's wrath in official gear. That afternoon, I hit the fire lab with Max, my forensic buddy who lives on caffeine and chaos. He grinned, holding up a scorched gas can like it was a trophy. HOA left their calling card. Arrogant or dumb? Maybe both, I said, smirking. The absurdity stung. Dad's lost memories traded for Vera's petty power trip. Worst cover-up ever. Max chuckled. Or boldest arson. Did they toss in a flyer too? We ran the tests. Residue, chemicals, the works. By morning, the results hit like a brick. The accelerant was industrial-grade fire starter, demolition stuff, not your average Home Depot junk. Sprayed, not spilled, targeting the cabin's weak spots. Then Max burst in, tablet glowing. Serial code on the canister. HOA bought a batch 3 weeks ago for landscaping. I stared. Landscaping? Guess torching cabins counts. He laughed. A text from a resident says check last month's HOA gardening budget. Shady stuff. I dove into the records. Vague invoices, absurd entries like vegetation optimization tool, $1,200. Max peeked over. Flamethrower or deluxe rake? It unraveled fast. Months of targeting non-compliant homes, pushing owners out. Dad's wasn't the first, just the most personal. That night, I went back to the site with ground-penetrating radar. Fancy stuff, but I wasn't messing around. Under the porch, I unearthed a metal box, scorched but intact. Inside, Dad's trail cam, set up for critters. The memory card survived. At the lab, Max and I rolled the footage. Past midnight, HOA-vested figures crept in with sprayers. Vera, limping in her orthopedic loafers, barked, "Make this dump ash by dawn. No one wants a slum tanking values." Max gagged on his coffee. "She planned it. She'll pay." As I prepped the tape for the DA, my phone buzzed. A block number. "Back off. We know you. We run this place." I grinned, cold as ice. They'd lit a fuse they couldn't snuff. That threat? Fuel on my fire. This wasn't just Vera. Something rotten festered in Lakeview Heights. I started canvassing neighbors, playing it cool like routine follow-ups. Tales poured out. An elderly couple fined $500 for a clashing birdhouse, a family banned from backyard fires after a Esmores mishap. Vera ruled by fear, and folks complied to avoid her wrath. Now they stirred. One guy whispered about retaliation, then shut his door. Another slipped me emails, Vera threatening pet-walking lawsuits. A woman cried about her mom's ramp being denied for curb appeal. I logged it all. Word spread. The Marshal was after the HOA. Allies popped up. Mrs. Tate, 22 years in the neighborhood, grinned. She fined my chimes for noise. I'll bake, spy, dig through trash, whatever. I built a rebel network, one poser at a time. A fake buyer infiltrated an HOA meeting where Vera bragged about purging riffraff. Another's wildlife cam caught a board member stuffing my mailbox with a violation notice for ash. Game on. I hit back hard, storming the HOA office, a tacky shrine of fake ferns and rulebooks, with my team. Badge gleaming, I chirped fire safety audit, premises and records. Vera lounged behind her garish desk, smirking tightly. Here personally? Not to harass us in our grief. Professionally, I said. Arson, fraud, abuse, plus fire code issues. Let's start. Her jaw dropped. A team member gasped at a closet. Accelerant drums, dead detectors, a do not shred file. Sloppy housekeeping, I teased. Vera lunged. Private property. Not in an arson case. I countered, snapping pics. That night, Max and I staked out the HOA shed. Rumors of another cleanup. Vera aimed a nozzle, and I lit floodlights. Evening, folks. Arrested for attempted arson, trespass, and idiocy. Phil shrieked and ran into a bush. Vera froze. You framed us. No, I said, you did. I just filmed. Cops cuffed them. Max grinned. Another blaze out. But I knew the roots ran deeper. Post-arrest, Lakeview Heights hushed. Relief mixed with disbelief. A headline screamed, Marshal nabs HOA head and arson bust. With Vera's smeared mugshot, horns doodled on. Phil, neck braced from his bush crash, bumbled at an emergency meeting. Recent events aren't us. We'll be transparent. I slid a paper over. You signed this. He wheezed. Vera said it was flowers. I didn't want fires. Testify or face the DA, I pressed. He nodded, brace squeaking. Days later, I built a damning file. Vera's lake trash emails, sabotage texts, fake contractor payouts to her nephew's pet spa, a memo to torch the gazebo old folks love. A recovered recording sealed it. One fire too many. The DA called it beautiful. Then Max traced funds to Crestwood Realty, an out-of-state LLC funding a luxury flip. Not just them, I told it he ate the puppeteers. Racketeering charges brewed. Neighbors rebuilt Dad's cabin. A new one rose, with a bench carved from charred wood. For Tom, for the fire that freed us. One night, Max called. Crestwood CEO quit. Board scrambling, hornet's nest. The governor wanted me for statewide HOA oversight. At a lakeside barbecue, Mrs. Tate, new HOA chair, handed me a carved sign, Bennett's Cove. A community restored. Dad patted my shoulder. You gave it back. The fire took, but we built stronger. Vera and her ilk? Ash. My justice? Eternal.